Hello and welcome to this week's Granny's Garden. Now those of you who have been following me on my channel will know that this past winter in my area we've had the worst winter since 1908. We had a very severe blizzard followed by an Arctic blast that lasted for several weeks, and it took out a lot of the plants in my garden, and as gardeners we just have to deal with that. There was something that was very hard for me to deal with. It took out one of my specimen plants. Right here in this very spot, I had the most beautiful standard weeping Cotoneaster with an 8-foot spread. It was absolutely magnificent, but the weight of the ice and the snow broke the graft open right down the middle and also broke the major branches. So it was a total write-off and I had to lift it, and it was a real blow to me and to the garden. So I vowed there and then to plant something very special, either there or in a pot, to cover this great loss. So this week, my local garden centre got in a very large shipment of Japanese maple tree. I was like a kid in a candy store. Now, I had already decided to plant the maple in a pot because this is a patio area, but it is also a pathway. And if I put something where the old Cotoneaster was planted and it starts encroaching more and more, I could end up without having a pathway to walk at all. And a pot you can always move. So, pot it was. The question was, what type of maple am I going to get? Now, I immediately ruled out Acer Bloodgood because of its height and its spread. I also ruled out Acer Purpureum, again because it's got a 20-foot spread and is a bit too much for a pathway, and in actual fact it does better in the landscape than in a pot. So I was left with two contenders. The first one was Firedlow. It's the larger of the two contenders, coming in at around about 12 feet maximum. It's like a pinky red in the springtime, then it changes to a dark green in the summer, and then goes to like a deep purpley red in the autumn. And the other one, the finalist, is the Shin Deshojo. And I'll put the little Japanese version so you can hear it spoken properly.
Shin Deshojo.
And again.
Shin Deshojo.
That's how you pronounce it. But it's a delightful. Come on down here. Look at it! Isn't she just gorgeous? And she's got interest the whole year round. In spring, she's got the most incredible display of all Japanese maples. It's like somewhere between a crimson colour and a shrimp pink colour. It's neither of the two, but somewhere in between. And certainly next spring, I'm going to be showing you her in all her glory. Then in summer, the leaves change to a green colour speckled with white and pink. And then come autumn, you get the orange, red, bronze colours. So throughout the whole year you're getting the entire spectrum of leaf colour. Absolutely magnificent. And also, of course, in autumn you're going to get the samaras, which is like the fruit or the like winged seeds. Then it is a deciduous tree, so you're going to lose the leaves in winter, and all the new branches are going to maintain the bark in a sort of like reddish colour. So interest in winter as well. What can you not like about this tree? It certainly gets a thumbs up from me, and I can't wait to get her into a pot. Now, as I said before, it is a Shin Deshojo. Shin in Japanese means new. The Deshojo variety did exist before, but the Shin, the new part, is because they have extended the magnificent leaf display that you get in the spring on this shrub. And also, apparently, it's more disease resistant. So, what more can you ask for? Let's get her in a pot. Ooh, sorry about that, it's getting a bit windy. Well, that was the tree out of the way. Now, the next thing for me to do was to buy the very first containers for my hidden patio. And there was just so much to choose from. They had the modern, they had the industrial, they had terracotta. And I was looking for two things. First of all, I was looking for something that would pick up the colours of the paving stones. Secondly, it couldn't be too dark because the paving stones themselves are going to absorb heat. And the last thing I wanted was for the actual container itself to absorb even more heat and fry the plants that were inside it. It was terrible. I was like a 15-year-old in a shop trying to buy a pair of blue jeans. I couldn't decide. Oh, just as well I was on my own. Anyway, eventually I hit on a thing that I think is absolutely lovely, and I think you'll love it as well. So let's have a look at it. Now, I ended up getting two pots. This first one is lower and wider, and as you see, I've just popped on the inside ready for planting. The European fan palm. If you remember, I nicknamed this the Phoenix because after the snow blizzard, out of the snow, these top little fronds were poking the little fingers out. So I transplanted it here to give it pride of place in the patio because it deserves it. Right little fighter. And the second one I got is the one I'm going to be using for the maple. Is taller and wider. holds a lot more soil, and I just love the colour. It's like an aged terracotta. The little slightly yellow hue matches the yellow tones in the stone. And as you can see, it's terribly distressed. It looks as if it's been here 20 or 30 years. I absolutely love it. So we're now going to go on and get the maple potted up. I did forget to say that this particular maple has a maximum height and spread of between 5 to 10 foot. Now, being in a container, it's probably going to be closer to the 5 foot than the 10 foot. So for me, absolutely perfect. The other thing is that acers can be planted in virtually any soil as long as it's free draining. When it's in a container, it's always best to use an ericaceous soil. That is a soil for acid-loving plants. So I filled it up with soil that's best for rhododendrons and azaleas and these type of things. Now, the other thing I've done are put 4 of these little feet, rubber feet, on the underneath of the pot. Now, these aren't the 3M ones because the 3M ones are smaller and they've got like a little sticky part at the back that just stick up to the bottom of the pot. This pot is so heavy when it's got soil in it that you don't need something to be stuck to it. So they're also a lot wider and can withstand a lot more pressure from above. So all I did was just rock it, place the feet under, and that's it. We're ready to go. So I've dug out a nice big well in the centre. Now, as always, I like to roll the pot to get them free pretty quickly. And let's pull her out. There we go. Now I want to get her square on before I start backfilling. So I need to stand back and have a look. Right, I've just twisted her around a little bit because this is the angle I'm most going to see her at as I walk past to continue up the side steps. So I think she's looking good here. That's the way to go. So I'm going to fix her in this position and backfill. Now, before I backfill, I just want to give a nice water down around the sides to make sure I'm going to get no air pockets down there. I don't have to worry about any air pockets that are underneath when I've plopped her down. I'm going to start backfilling her, and when I get halfway up I'm going to do exactly the same thing. It also leaves your hands beautifully filthy, but the most important thing is the plant. As long as she's happy, I'm happy. So as you can see, the first thing I'm doing is rubbing the existing soil into the little gap between the actual plant that was in the pot and the actual pot itself. Now that's firm down, I can start backfilling. So I'm just going to bung it in any old how now, and I'll smooth it down then with my hands. Will of course not be covering the upper part. I'm not going to go any deeper than she originally was in the pot. I'm just firming this down nicely, and again I'm going to give her another little water. Good water now till she pools. She's pooling water here and it's immediately soaking down. So it's a good sign. We've got good drainage here because that was quite a bit of water. Now I need to keep filling until I'm level with the original pot. Now what I'm going to do as just an extra is put some slow release fertilizer. Again, this is a special one for acid-loving plants. It's got a picture here of a hydrangea on the front, or an hortensia as they're called here in Spain. So I'm just going to put that on the top. I'm going to get my hands nice and filthy. Try and clean off the mess. Well, actually I'm going to do it now with I'll do it now with the hose pipe. And that way I can also clean my hands. Well, more or less. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and as any proud mama with her new baby, what I'm going to be showing you is each season how she changes her dress into a different colour. And please do subscribe to the channel to help it grow, but I'll be seeing you here next week in Granny's garden. For me, for the moment, it's bye-bye now. What's looking good in the garden this week is this area, this whole little area. The pure white violas are still going strong. You can hardly see the leaves for the flowers. Then right beside it, I've got the archelegia, the columbine. And this particular columbine I love, with the lilac edges and the white fronts. And then in between, you see I've got a stowaway. I've got some cane anemones. And what's about to come into bloom is the iris. Right above it, you can see here the bud beginning to form. And then right above that, I've got the first flowers on my roses, the big ones. big bush rose, and the smell is unbelievable. And above that, the myrtle that I pruned earlier on this year is beginning to leaf out, and it's looking good. So a nice little area. Very pleased with that.